You ever seen someone dragged out of first class like a criminal, then walk back and 6 weeks later owning the airline? Yeah, that happened. It started like any dream vacation does. Big smiles, matching travel suits, and the kind of glow that only comes from knowing you finally made it. After years of grinding, sacrificing sleep, skipping holidays, and pouring everything into their tech startup, twin sisters Maya and Lena Delgado were ready to celebrate. Their cybersecurity company had just crossed the $50 million mark, and they'd landed a government contract that would change their lives. First class to Barbados wasn't just a splurge, it was a statement. But the universe had other plans. Or maybe, just maybe, it was less the universe and more the people who still couldn't wrap their heads around two successful black women daring to take up space where they didn't belong. The flight had barely begun boarding when the tension started. A tall white man in an overpriced suit, Bluetooth in one ear, stormed onto the plane like he owned it. His name, Carter Hayes, corporate VP for some investment firm no one cares about, except he clearly thought he ran the sky. He saw Maya and Lena in their plush VIP seats and didn't even hesitate. "You're in the wrong seats," he said flatly, like he was correcting an error on a spreadsheet. Lena blinked. "We're exactly where we paid to be." But Carter wasn't having it. Claimed he needed the seats for urgent business, said they could just move. Be flexible. The flight attendant, a woman named Claire, polished, polite, and patronizing as hell, jumped in right behind him. "Ladies, if you'd kindly relocate to economy, we'd really appreciate your cooperation." That's when Maya, the quieter one, calmly tilted her phone upward. Camera on, voice steady. "We paid for these seats, same as him. You're asking us to move because he said so?" Claire smiled like a cat about to pounce. "Actually, it's a weight balance issue. A weight issue. Yeah." Maya and Lena were both 5'4", lean, and dressed sharper than half the executives in Silicon Valley. But sure, let's call it weight. Then came the moment. Carter leaned in close, and with that smug corporate whisper said, "The mistake was thinking you belonged up here." Lena flinched like she'd been slapped. And just like that, things escalated. Security was called. Not for Carter, not for Claire, for Maya and Lena. 2 officers marched in and grabbed Lena by the arm. When she resisted, just enough to avoid being manhandled, her designer watch snapped off her wrist and hit the floor. One of the officers stepped on it, didn't even blink. "You're resisting," he said coldly. The rest of the cabin? Silent. A few folks looked away. A couple passengers recorded, but no one spoke up. Except Maya. She stood firm, voice clear. "You just put hands on one of the top shareholders of this airline." They laughed. Literally laughed. Until they checked the manifest. See, what no one on that plane knew was that 6 months earlier, Maya and Lena had made a quiet but strategic investment through a holding company. At the height of the pandemic, while airlines were bleeding cash, they bought in, deep, 15% stake, one of the largest, and they kept it quiet. Until now. So while the airline thought they were ejecting just 2 customers, they were actually removing owners. Back in the terminal, with tears barely held back, Lena said the words that would go viral in under an hour. They didn't just throw 2 black women off a flight, they threw out the future of this company. You better believe their phones lit up. First call? Victoria Eng, their COO and unofficial crisis general. Second? Franklin Oduro, their lawyer, ex-civil rights attorney with a reputation for eating corporate discrimination cases for breakfast. And third? Olivia, PR assassin, former fixer for a Fortune 100 firm. By the time they got to their hotel, the war room was live, video edited, narrative framed, influencers looped in, and the hashtags already trending. But here's where it gets better. Olivia digs up a twist. Turns out Carter Hayes wasn't just some entitled businessman. He was VP at Aerofront, Coastal Airlines' biggest competitor. He was there to spy on Coastal's VIP service. Basically, the company booted its own shareholders to appease a corporate saboteur. The fallout was swift. By 4 p.m. the next day, Coastal Airlines CEO Thomas Whitman had resigned. 2 board members followed. Claire? Fired. The security officers? Under investigation. And Carter? Facing federal charges for violating non-disclosure agreements and posing as a customer for a rival firm. But Maya and Lena weren't done. They called a press conference, stood side by side in sharp navy and emerald suits, poised, unapologetic. We didn't ask for this fight, Lena said, but we're not walking away from it either. They presented a 48-page report on Coastal's diversity failures. 13 similar complaints filed by passengers of color, ignored, emails, memos, internal Slack chats with coded language. They had it all. And then they offered a choice. Implement our reforms, Maya said calmly, or face a shareholder rebellion that'll make national news. The board caved. Hard. Within weeks, Coastal Airlines was no more. Rebranded as Horizon Air, a symbol of new leadership, new values. Maya and Lena took seats on the board, co-chaired the newly formed Diversity Oversight Committee, and increased their stake to 20%. Tanya Robles, a respected Latina exec from a regional carrier, was brought in as interim CEO. Even the employees noticed the shift. More hires, more support, town halls that didn't feel like PR performances. Real change. And those passengers from the flight? Horizon invited them to a private reconciliation session. Some shared stories. Others just apologized for staying quiet when it mattered most. 6 months later, at the company gala, Maya and Lena finally boarded a plane to Barbados. Same airline, first class, only this time they owned the sky. Just before takeoff, a flight attendant approached nervously. Mrs. Delgado, we're honored to have you aboard. Can I offer champagne? Maya smiled. Only if it's cold. Lena leaned back, eyes closed. Took long enough. As the jet ascended, they clinked glasses. Victory, cold, fizzy, and earned. But here's the thing. Not everyone was happy. There were whispers online, claims of playing the race card, accusations of overreacting, people asking if the sisters really belonged on that board. And that's the debate, right? Did they go too far or not far enough? Drop your thoughts below. Was kicking off a revolution worth it, or should they have just switched seats and saved the fight for another day? Let me know in the comments. Because sometimes the seat you refuse to give up ends up changing the whole damn airline. And if that doesn't make you hit like and subscribe, I don't know what will.